Hey Boat Chef fans! Today's recipe is going to have two parts. In light of Thanksgiving this week, we're going to do a quick and easy little appetizer that you can bring to any holiday gathering. We're going to do a fresh baked bread. Yes, I said bread. Yes, there's yeast involved. Yes, you can do it. And a ricotta cheese dip to go with it. So we'll start off with bread. First thing we're going to do is warm our water. It needs to be right about 100 degrees or so is all. You don't need it to be boiling. It doesn't need to be, anything more than that, just not cold. Then we mix together our warm water. And our yeast. And sugar. And we're going to let it sit for a few minutes. Now that it's nice and bubbly, we're going to add our salt and our flour. And we mix it until it is just combined and just kind of comes into a nice ball. Next, we're going to flour our dough and let it sit to rise. And we're going to cover it with a dish towel and leave it for about an hour. Okay, it's been just about an hour and our dough has just about doubled in size. See? So we are going to sprinkle some flour on our cutting board and turn our dough out onto it. Okay, now we are going to, we're not going to knead the bread, we're just going to kind of give it its shape. We're going to push each corner up into the middle. Like a big envelope. And then we're going to give it a little bit more flour just to keep it from sticking to the sides of the next bowl that we're going to put it in. And we are going to put it with the seam side down into this bowl. And we're going to let it rise again. While we're waiting for the dough to rise, we're going to start on the dip with the roasted tomatoes. We're just going to start by cutting them all in half and putting them in a bowl. And then we're going to add some spices and olive oil and whatnot. Next, we're going to add some garlic to our bowl. A couple of cloves, 3, 4. I don't know, I don't think you can really ever have too much garlic. I think I said that before. And we're gonna add a little bit of rosemary. Which I'm gonna kind of just roughly chop up. We don't need it to be tiny, just sort of open it up and get the fragrance moving. Then we add that. We add a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of balsamic vinegar. And we just mix it all up. Throw in a little salt and pepper for good measure. Mix, 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 mix. All right. Then we're going to spread them out on a baking dish. No, on a cookie sheet. Make sure you get all that good nice. Little straggler. And we're going to bake them. While the tomatoes are roasting, we're going to get the rest of the dip ready to go. First thing, we're going to put the ricotta in a bowl. And this dip is really very simple. It's just a matter of dumping everything into the bowl and then baking it. So we are going to start with the ricotta. Then we're going to add some shredded cheese. And some olive oil. And some fresh rosemary. This time we are going to chop the rosemary pretty small. Nobody likes to get poked in the mouth with a rosemary sprig when they're eating. Plus, the more you chop, the more of the aromas are released. Smell it, right? From over there.
Sure can.
So good. I'm going to add a little bit more fresh garlic. If not a little bit more. We already used some in our tomatoes. All right, and salt, well, pepper, and then salt. And a little bit of red chili pepper. And then we're going to mix it all up and set it aside until we're ready to bake it. Our tomatoes are done. So I'm going to move the rack in the oven and put my pan in. So we put the empty pot in the oven in order to get it nice and hot before we put the dough in it. Alright, now we're going to turn our dough out onto a piece of parchment paper very gently. And then I made a little just sort of topping of some rosemary, some salt, some garlic. We're just going to kind of spread that on there. Like so. Now we're going to take out our pot, which should now be very hot. Take off the lid and set this whole thing inside. And we put it back in the oven. Alright, it's been 30 minutes, so I'm going to just take the lid off of the pan. We're going to check it out first. Looks like bread. And we're going to put it back in without the lid on. Alright, now we're going to spread the dip into our pan. Our baking dish. This is actually a baking dish. And we're going to bake it. Alright, now we're going to switch out the bread for the dip. Since the bread is done, pull it out here.
They're pretty good. And action. Sorry.
Alright, with about 5 minutes left in your bake time on your dip, we're going to pull it out and put the tomatoes on top. Then we put it back in the oven for the last 5 minutes. And there you have it.